Hey Jay, what's up, dude?
How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Thanks for coming out today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
We come together under crazy times as two fellow content creators. A lot of stuff going on in the content creation space, the censorship space, and just like another battle of the internet about who gets sway and whose stuff gets seen and everything that's going on. It's crazy, turbulent times.
Life is good though. It's okay, you know.
Life is great.
We'll find a way.
It's great right now. Life is good. And you, like I mentioned before, you're a content creator. We came together. I know he's going to kill me if I didn't say it. Shout out to Kevin Tarka making this collab happen. Yeah, tell people a little about you, who you are, where you come from, and what you do, man.
Sure, yeah. So I started in the, well, I won't even say entertainment industry, but I started rapping when I was like 16 or 17. I'm trying to think if I ever freestyle with Kevin. I don't think so. That's on the bucket list. But I started posting it on YouTube and learning how to get people to see it. I'm like, nobody cares about me, so how do I get people to see it? And then I built a little bit through rapping. And then the 2016 election, I started following the news more. And I've always hated the news because I always found it very negative and just boring. And then when I was following it really closely, I was like, wow, they're really awful. Like, they were way worse. It's like reality TV. You know it's kind of fake, but then when you see, like, I've been on set before, and I'm like, whoa, that's even crazier than I thought. That's how the news was, so I tried to do my own, more optimistic, more honest, and it took off. I got 250 million views last year with
Wow.
no manager, no just, like, couch and cell phone. So it turned into a whole career, and now I guess that's what I do. I say a news analyst, but I try to weigh in on social topics, political commentary. I still rap and also do interviews and try to talk to interesting people and get a dialogue going.
Yeah, I want to take back from what you said just there. What did you do to get yourself noticed? Because I think that's the hardest thing to do in a lot of these, any kind of social media platform right now. They've really limited how you can reach things. Or I think that's how they decided they wanted to get paid. I think Facebook said, hey, we are going to filter off everything and you have to pay us, or else only 10% of the people who even like your stuff, or you have a 20 million person following, are going to see your stuff, which makes no sense.
It goes hand in hand with the censorship stuff too, because now a lot of these strategies I used to do, I don't know that they'd even work anymore. At first, when I was rapping, I knew no one would see me, so I started doing remixes and putting the title like instrumental remix, things that would pop up, so they started getting views, people would see it. I created something called an MC showcase, where it was me calling out another rapper, so I kind of finessed it to try to get people to see each other's audiences, and slowly built. And then the big jump was I did one viral video about a false news story on a Delta airplane, and it got 7 million views. And then once that happened, I had a huge spike, and I had a good formula as far as how to sizing of the video, what to do. And now once I have the following, it's easier to keep it going. But with YouTube, I'm sure we'll talk about in a second, and even other social medias, they're really cracking down on how the independent person can get seen. When I started, the independent creators were all over the place and there wasn't a lot of corporate media, but now not only is corporate media everywhere on YouTube, but they make it almost impossible to find people. So you could have the best video or the highest rated, even the most views and comments, and they bury it now in the search bar. So a lot of my old strategies they're like slowly just like chipping away. They want everything, you know?
Yeah, I know a lot of people in the YouTube space are always talking about, hey, the algorithm changed. But that's not just solely for YouTube. And they talk about that for Instagram, the hashtag you use, or what kind of post you're doing. Because like I said, those keywords and SEO even like come down to people coming and finding your stuff. I know whenever I put a new video out, whether it's the entire podcast episode or like these like mini doc experiences I put out, I got to be researching what people are going to be searching or typing in like phrases for them to go out and find those videos. And that's, you know, again, a whole nother side and part of it. But what I'm noticing, like what you said, that's not even making a difference anymore. Because I think it was, well, shout out this guy, Coffee Break. Are you familiar with him? This is my first video I saw of his, but he talked about something we talked about earlier today, is that how much, and you mentioned this just now, corporate media's videos are getting pushed to the top, or even just getting visibility or even trending status with less views than all these original content creators who are in the space. And we're talking like big names like Logan Paul, who is another one, like Jimmy Dore type too. They need millions of views for their videos to get to trending. And then, you know, ESPN, who's putting out a news story every day, or they cut together a 5-minute segment of Stephen A. talking about this or that. and that's getting pushed up to the top. And
Mm.
it ends up being that's not what this platform is about. And these news people have kind of like got in there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I'll explain the YouTube algorithm and the search algorithm because a lot of people don't understand what they're doing, and it's very, in my opinion, nefarious and cruel and awful for content creators. So when you used to search on, the search bar, say you search for Donald Trump or this or that, you'd get the highest liked, highest viewed. No matter if it was CNN or the individual person, but now they bury it so far, it's crazy. I did a test of Donald Trump, and Mac Miller's song has 40 million views. It should come towards the top, or there's videos with millions upon tens of millions of views. So many, whether it's left-wing people like Jimmy Dore or people that are right-wing or independent.
Mac Miller's got a song named Donald Trump?
Yeah, he's got a song, Donald Trump. It's an older song of his.
I'm out of the loop. I'm so behind everything.
But to find that song, even though it's got more views than everything else, you have to scroll almost 4 or 5 pages. So whether it's Donald Trump, An0maly, anything that's not political, the first 10 to 20 to 30 search results are now CNN, Fox News, Bloomberg, New York Times, Washington Post, all the corporate media, and they make it literally impossible to find your stuff. And they've rigged it further, and now it's at the point Jimmy Dore or someone else could have 30 million views, and you could search his name, and sometimes you still won't find his videos, even searching for his specific content. So they've gone so far to the point where no matter what you're searching for on almost every result, you will find 30 to 40 corporate videos that people were coming to YouTube to escape from, and it's not because they're higher rated. They're not paying for advertising. Sometimes people say to me, oh, they're probably paying for that spot. No, they're not only not paying, but YouTube and Facebook are paying them. They say they're fighting fake news by giving more money to corporate media and taking it away from the independent creators. So it's, in my opinion, pretty evil. And it's funny that Google used to have "Don't be evil" as their slogan, and they actually took it down a year ago, which was creepy. And then since then, they've pushed further and further and further. And what they did, the search algorithm's wrong, because no matter if you're Logan Paul, like you said, with 15 million views, they're going to show you a CNN or a Fox or a Bloomberg video with 5,000 views, maybe 2,000 downlikes. You can't even find Elon Musk talking to Joe Rogan at the very beginning. They had Elon Musk, Joe Rogan. You had to scroll through 30 things saying how dumb Elon Musk is. Like, he's smoking weed and corporate media, 5,000 views, 1,000 downlikes, 100 uplikes. Like, no one wants to see that, but they say this is safe news. This is what you can trust, and everyone else is bad, no matter who you are. Like, just see what we want you to see. It's very authoritarian.
Why have they done that?
I think multiple reasons. The person who really looks into it could say they're trying to control everything, control the world, control the flow of information. On a lesser scale of why I think they might be doing it is the 2016 election, Donald Trump won, and a lot of people in big tech, celebrities and people who control these companies didn't want him to win. And, there's foreign interference that they're very concerned with now. They say Russia and others. So they've been tracking more and more people. Like, they geo-track me now on Facebook to make sure I'm in America. Like, I have to be tracked 24/7 or else they wouldn't let me post. They said, we must track you. Very creepy. So they're trying to justify.
What does that look like? Do you got can you show you that on the phone right now?
No, it's just like the allow. When you say allow, I said don't allow Facebook to track me, and I logged in one day and they said unless you allow them to track you at all
through
times.
The settings. In
we won't let you post because we want to make sure you're there.
Really?
So I think it's the 2016 election, the loss, and now it's kind of like the spiraling of they can't figure out why corporate media is not doing well. But I don't think it even has a lot to do with Trump. I think he started asking questions about it, but on the left wing and the right wing, the biggest groups of people, they like independent sources more than corporate. I like people. I find it more authentic on YouTube, whether I'm listening to sports or entertainment. It's fun and it's different. So they're trying to justify why no one likes them. So they just keep swallowing everything up. Be like, it must be this, it must be that, it must be Russia. Like, they'll call someone that's far left on a political scale far right-wing Russians just because they don't agree with what they want them to agree with, and they kind of use that as a justification or hate speech to slowly swallow it up. So I don't know if they're purposely doing it for total control. That's what the pessimistic person would say, and if the more optimistic, neutral approach is like they're just very foolish and naive and maybe so like egotistical that they can't figure out that people just don't like them that much, and they're instead of getting better, they just keep stealing, like smashing your building down. Look, I got the tallest building. You're like, yeah, you knocked mine down. What are you doing? You took all my stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to not think about conspiracies or conspiracy theories, but I mean, that's what end up you getting pulled inside of when, again, you just question or wonder, hey, like we're having a conversation we're having on this, is it that it's these people are just this egotistical to say, well, no, we're just going to buy everything out, and if we own everything, like what Facebook has done with Instagram, WhatsApp, they're trying to buy that 24 cycle hour of time. And hey, you're not on WhatsApp anymore unless you're on Facebook, and you're not on this, so we own your time. We own where you're going to be consuming content or information or connecting with people. And, you kind of think like, no, maybe these people aren't really conspiring and trying to control things, but they're just, they want it their way, and this is the way they want the world to be shaped and seen. And I mean, which is technically conspiring. People are conspiring to make things happen or go a certain way. And that's where it's so hard you have any ideas outside the norm, you're kind of shot down against.
Absolutely. And they are, in a way, conspiring. Like with when Alex Jones got kicked off stuff, he got kicked off everything within 48 hours. So are they all, like it's Twitter, Facebook, Google, Spotify, they're either talking or, so connected to the same sources. We're like, all right, they did that, we got to do that. And even the term conspiracy theory, I think, was kind of put out there to not make people question. And there are people who, I would say, question too much or believe every lie. Like, everything that someone else says just because they're not mainstream, it doesn't mean it's true. So there are people that will believe anything on that side. But a lot of this stuff is pretty well documented, and it does seem like they're doing it. But I do also believe, I think it's, sometimes when you lie so much or you do so much of something, you actually believe them yourself. So sometimes I don't think they're trying to purposely do it, where they're just so like consumed with their own, ideas and very stubborn that they don't realize what they're doing. Because I think it's going to hurt Google. It's going to hurt Facebook. I think it's really hurt the mainstream media. They're doing way worse than ever. A lot of
their
these
ratings are down. Apparently,
awful.
They're switching a lot of their journalists over to freelancers, and like, I think it was reported that so they can pay them in 3-month windows, so they can't pay them up front right away.
They must not have the money, right?
3 months down the line. And I mean, that's, I want to go back into that thing with Alex Jones, but I know it's a big thing going on with Vox Adpocalypse. And I mean, everything with what Carlos Maza from Vox is trying to do or seemingly has done and how it's hurt. And I mean, there's a lot of content creators I just don't see on his side, because what he's done has only been like more of an avalanche on everything we just talked about, with corporate media really getting their information and news pushed up in the way of say, hey, this is the news you can trust. But I never thought about it in that way.
Yeah, he's going to unite America, because it seems like gamers are mad, teachers are mad, teachers who had videos of historical stuff like Nazi Germany. They're not promoting it, but you teach about it, so you have videos of it. They've taken a lot of that stuff down. They've taken so much money away from people that had nothing to do with it. So he kind of raised a storm, and that's where these companies, they're afraid, especially with social justice or any sort of like hate speech stuff. I get they're in a tough place, because if they don't do something, they get attacked by activists and they say, you hate gay people, or you're not standing up for us. But then if they do it, they tend to not be able to do it honestly. So it's a weird pickle they're in, and I feel like they constantly just keep doing the wrong thing. I get it's tough, but yeah, he really screwed over a lot of people by it. And I guess complaining and saying, take him down or demonetize him.
Can you give a little background to that story and like kind of what happened? Because as much as I've been like studying up and looking into it and like seeing like just how many people are up in arms about everything going on, give people a little background on Steven Crowder, Carlos Maza at Vox, and again, like what he has to lose and what he has to win. I mean, both people. It's crazy.
So I didn't know about this guy a week ago. I never heard of him. Carlos Maza, I guess he's a gay Latino journalist or video producer for Vox, and I'm not saying that to be mean. His at symbol is gay wonk. That's what he self-identifies on. I thought that was funny. Yeah, I had to look up wonk. I was like, what's a wonk? And it's someone who's very analytical, I guess, and like nitpicky with things. Mm-hmm. And so and I found out actually recently, just a back stories, he worked for Media Matters for 5 or 6 years, which I didn't know, which is like a left-wing, like political kind of operative group that just really tries to shut people down. So that gives it a whole new content. I was like, wow, I thought he was just the video producer for Vox. So he posted a video of Steven Crowder making jokes about him. And I'm not a huge Crowder fan. I'm not a hater. I don't really hate anyone, but it's not really my thing. But I was looking at the jokes. I guess he was calling him gay and making jokes about his list, but it could be, considered mean. To
Yeah.
others, it's funny. It's not my
He's pretty obnoxious with his
yeah,
jokes.
he kind of has like a fratty vibe. Like he's like
Very.
the guy, right? He's like
Yeah.
the frat guy who's kind of a dick that like you might want to play basketball with, but sometimes you're like, dude, come on, stop.
I mean, he's probably gonna be chugging out of just a huge pitcher of beer all the time when he's not on air. It's like, oh, come on, man, come on. We could be nice to these people.
So-
Everything seems so aggro with him.
Yeah. That's what I was saying, because people sometimes they assume like, oh, you're a huge fan. And like I said, I'm not a hater. I don't knock anyone, but I've only watched like one or two things of his. I'm not really familiar with it. So he posted all that stuff and said, hey, this is what Crowder's doing to me. He's being mean, demonetize him. And YouTube said basically they're not going to do it. And then they changed their decision and said, you know what, upon further review, we're going to demonetize Steven Crowder's whole channel. And then they started getting weird with it. They're like, we might put this back on the video if you take your shirts down, if you don't sell shirts. I was like, what kind of policy is that? Like, you're only demonetized if you don't sell shirts? And then I guess they used the Crowder thing, and this is what I warn everyone about. It's not that I want people to be mean, but freedom of speech is very important in America, and we have it for a reason. And when you lose it, especially to hate speech, what is hate? I could say, hey, you have something on your cheek if you were, you don't. But if you did, and then you could be mad at that, but it could be honest. So it's a fine line, and they took that, demonetized Crowder, and then demonetized thousands of channels, millions of videos that had nothing to do with it. So everyone's pissed at this dude, and it seems like I get where he's coming from, but he is also the Carlos dude. He's a little obnoxious, where it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, why are people being mean to me? It's like, you're kind of annoying.
Yeah, I've seen some of his pages. He, like you said, his Twitter handle is gay wonk. He says, I'm a Marxist pig.
Yeah.
And, that's the weird thing about the internet. It's like this huge playground for adults and people from all around the world. And people forget people are people, and you have no idea what someone can do. The fact that our society and civilization is, especially in this country, it's so lax. There's so many little subliminal rules that we all follow. Red stop, green go, move here, move there, stay within the white lines. Like, a lot of things happen that we're just so subliminally channeled to say, okay, these are the rules, we're going to follow them. And now we have the internet, which is still, I would say, our generation. We're both millennials. And, we didn't get any keys to the internet or rules to it. We kind of like were born into it. Our parents didn't know it. And so we're trying to still figure everything out without a rule book. Luckily Gen Z has something to look at, but in terms of the rules and how these things are managed and going on, it's not as bad, I don't think, as it's made to believe. But how do we, confine the term hate speech and tell people that, hey, you can do this, you can't do this, especially on these platforms that are kind of corporations and they have the will to do what they want.
Absolutely. I think where Google and Facebook and Twitter are losing it is, I'm a person which might not be popular in certain sides, but I understand actually that they don't want certain language. They don't want certain things being said because there's children there and stuff. I get that. But the problem is they don't just do like they say, don't commit violence or have a physical threat. But he actually, Carlos Maza, had a physical threat. They're throwing milkshakes at right-wing people in Great Britain when they're going to vote, and old people, veterans and stuff. And he said, keep doing it, make it so they don't even want to go out in public. So he's calling for physical. They allow that to happen, and then mean jokes make them mad, where I just want consistency. So they let physical threats, death threats, they let that fly all the time. And then what really seems to bother them is politics. And I'm someone who, I get that certain people on the right wing can be really hateful, and certain things I'm like, you know what? Yeah, you can block them or ban them for 3 days. But they've gone so crazy, YouTube, where they say that if you question, like, talking about someone's immigration status is now hate speech. And I'm not even someone who's like anti-illegal immigrant. I've never had a problem. I'm not a police. I'm not a judge. I'm not a hater. But it's, the police's job, the president's job, and people can say, hey, I don't support illegal immigration. It's like, I don't support theft or robbery. Like, that can be an opinion, whether you can debate it and say, I want them to seek asylum, but they're now making a political, stance on something, which is in line with the law, basically illegal on their platform. So it's like, you can't talk about someone's gender identity. There were two transgenders arguing on Twitter. One said, I'm a girl, and one said, no, I'm a boy, but I'm doing the girl thing. Like, they had a debate, and they were both transgender. The transgender who had the opinion of, I'm switching, but I'm not that yet or something, got banned on Twitter. So 2 transgenders can't even have a discussion about being transgender. So that's where it gets kind of loopy, and now they're branching out, so they're becoming very authoritarian. But in another way, I've been very blessed. So like you said, it is a great time. I'm not trying to be negative, but it's
why
getting
did one of them get banned and why not? Like,
well, because the one had the opinion that Twitter doesn't want you to have. They want you to say if you're a transgender, guy, and you identify as a girl, then you're a girl, not a guy. But the other trans had a different perspective on it, and and that's where they're kind of getting with it. It's not like, we're trying to stop hate and violence. I'm cool with that. There's way too much of it. But it's almost like, we don't want you to have that political opinion. We don't want you to have that social opinion. We don't want you to disagree with us. We don't care if you're left wing or right wing. We don't want people to see your stuff. You can't even find a lot of stuff in Google searches anymore. They've rigged it so much where it's like, this is what we want you to see. And the stuff that they want you to see is awful, in my opinion. The mainstream right wing and the left wing doesn't come close to the independent creators, and they've actually made it nearly impossible. So it's becoming very Orwellian or Brave New World style, where they're doing. I've been reading the book recently, 1984. They're almost just as bad, or if not worse, than the people in the book.
but why does that matter? Like, why should someone say, oh, well, my stuff's getting banned on YouTube, or go make a new platform? Like, why is it that this platform and what these people are doing, why should anybody care? Why can't they just go start something new?
They can. I agree. People need to be more ambitious and creative. That side of it, I agree with. You don't have to use it. But on the flip side, I guess the counter argument is Google is probably more powerful than the Roman Empire. It's like they have so much pull in every country. They could collapse entire economies in a second, and they've done that in some ways, and even for people who work there. So I see it both ways. I'm like, guys, why do we suck at everything? How come we don't have any companies?
Mm-hmm.
I made a joke about the right wingers. I said, why are you guys only good at Cabela's, Chick-fil-A, and country music? Like, why don't you make a Twitter or YouTube? I was semi-joking, but I was like, why do left-wing people own all of these tech companies, or at least nobody that can see it both ways? So yeah, one way is they're so powerful they need to be stepped in, and another is turn your phone off. I get it.
Yeah. What's his name? Noel Ravikant. Amazing mind. Great speaker. He had a perspective on this topic. Yeah. Technology and movement toward new technology is usually more left-leaning. And people who are in that left-leaning space are developing, those technologies. And this is not just, in this internet age that we're in now. This is just throughout history.
And music and entertainment. And to that, I'm like, conservatives, you guys step it up. Like, how come, why are you not doing that? And I think a lot of conservatives don't want to hear that, where I say, you can blame the left for doing that. And I agree that these things are not right, but who's stopping you? Like, I've always leaned more left, but now I find myself, understanding a lot of right-wing points. And no one bothers me. I have friends in the music industry because I'm not annoying, and I'm not a hater. So it's like, no one's stopping me from doing it. Why can't you build a social network or make a good song? Like, we can't just have Toby Keith. We already lost the Dixie Chicks. Like, what,
Yeah,
Ted Nugent's not going to take us to the finish
rebounded.
line. Kanye West 1 month a year.
Kanye West, when he visits the White House or talks to Candace Owens, then we're Kanye West fans.
Well, he comes in, he drops some gems, and he goes to his church service for 6 months. Very smart, probably a mentally calm, and he doesn't like to do it. But we need more than Kanye West and Ted Nugent, and that's no one's fault. But I guess liberals tend to be more creative or ambitious in those departments, and that's the way the cards fell. So now we're here, and just take it. It's fun. Yeah,
Americans really need to realize how important and how much influence their position in the world has. It's so lacking, and I've blessed to say I got the opportunity to travel around the world. I got to see all these things, and enough people who complain about things not being the best or the way they want them at this present moment in time. I think we're just in a growing pains time. We're trying to feel all these things out. We have, the availability in space and time and, financial stability for a lot of people in this country. There's still a lot of people who are left out of those places. But for people to go out and change their gender or go travel the world, literally the options, it's almost like a video game now. Like, hey, what do you want to do to your body? Where do you want to go in the world today? But people don't look at it in that lens. They don't. And again, as Americans, like, hey, how much the rest of the world looks at what we do and who we are. Because again, I think we have just such an important place, and people really, really admire who we do and how we get to choose things and how we get to do things. I know a lot of the people around the world don't like that Trump is president. They like when Obama was president. It's like, oh, yeah, Trump maybe not be out there making the most vocal points, or is definitely not the most polished person. But it's interesting to hear military people talk about it. Where it's like, where he's like, I'm not going to tell you my strategy, or I'm not going to say we're going to go out and bomb this place, or we're going to go do this and that. Yeah. And that literally has thrown countries off. Iran, literally is panicking because they don't know what this guy is going to do and what his strategy is going to be.
He's crushing it in that department. With with Mexico, he said he was putting tariffs or something, and even right-wingers like Ben Shapiro were like, I don't agree with that. He's all mad. And then the media is like, that's terrible. And recently, yesterday, Mexico said they were going to deal with, their problems with Guatemala, and also they froze the bank account of 26 human traffickers who were trafficking mass amounts of people and children into the U.S. So Trump put the pressure, and same with Kim Jong-un. He's like, hey, buddy, you're fat. Or so I was like, dude, what are you doing? Why are you calling him fat?
The Rocket Man thing.
Legit, it's absolutely insane.
Everybody's just up in arms. Why are you doing this? You can't do this.
But then 2 months later, he's smiling with them. And if you've never seen, they have one of him and Kim Jong-un, and they have the Office music playing in the background. Hilarious, but it's in a weird way, it's worked. And I want to go back to what you were saying before, because I think this is a problem on both sides of the political debate, is people aren't grateful at all. I wake up, and what helped me kind of get here was being I have food, I have water, I have a cell phone. My ancestors used to have to take horse and carriage and work in factories. My grandfather worked in a mattress factory. My other one worked in an asbestos factory before they knew asbestos was bad, which is not good. So it's my ability to do this, even on my worst day, I can $15, which pretty much almost everyone has laying around, even if it's their last. You could order food, and somebody that's pretty nice will take the food to your door. That's amazing. So people don't look at that stuff. You can have an opinion, be I don't like that Trump's doing this, or hey, I don't like this illegal immigration policy. But to spend your whole life in that zone, you're only wasting your own time. And there's always been pros, there's always been cons, but I find the pros of living now, like you said, it is like a video game. I could travel, I could see other people, I could look for the good in people, I could go to the beach. So I don't live in this world of negativity, and that really bothers people online. It's they're be mad with me, and I'm you got to get out of the house, or go for a jog. What you do spend every day mad on Twitter, no matter what your politics are, you're just playing yourself.
Yeah, I tell people I don't think I'm saying anything that's upsetting people or anything, but are you afraid to say this? People are gonna get mad. I'm I guess I have too much positive energy or something. I don't attract these people. No trolls come after me, and I guess I shouldn't be saying this and inciting this. But I'm lucky that I don't have those people in my life. I don't have those people on social media, and I can spend time on there and connect with people around the world, even like yourself, to have conversations like these. It's
I'm going to send my troll army to you now.
Please don't. Please don't.
Hundreds of thousands of trolls. They live in caves, and they're just waiting to ruin someone's... No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, man.
But it does get ugly at a certain point. You gotta dip out.
So I want to talk about the news thing. You got into news commentating on YouTube, and you've been doing that since 2016. What got you into that?
Looking at the news, and I always knew... I thought the two-party system was a lie. I thought the wars being started were totally false, and we're killing people for no reason. I never liked the Democrats or the Republicans. I thought they were two birds of the same stone, and I saw Bernie Sanders, and I was like, oh, maybe he's outside the system.
Guilty.
Yeah,
guilty.
He swooped me up, and then I was like, you know what? Let me actually read the news, because I straight up did. People think I love politics. I can't stand politics. I don't like the news. I still don't like either of them. But I started actually reading, and I had a lot of time on my hands. I worked on the computer, and I started dissecting Washington Post, New York Times, MSNBC, Fox News, CNN, Bloomberg, all of these big companies that I just ignored. And I realized that a lot of them, almost in unison, were lying, or at least skewing the narrative in a very negative, nasty, what I would consider not fair way, not fair to Bernie, not fair to Trump, not fair to anybody besides who they really wanted to. And they almost made it impossible, I saw what they were doing, to find any other opinion. So I was like, whoa, it really is. I've always thought that the news was like that, but I was like, they really are, either directly or indirectly, crafting a narrative that's almost impossible to find outside the source. Because
Why did they want Hillary? Like, why? Because that's the big thing. People say, like, they wanted Hillary to win, but why would they want her in office?
Well, I think Trump is not who they wanted, per se, and Bernie was not who they wanted. And she had, I would say media connections, military-industrial complex connections. I would say bank connections. She's been in politics for a while. So most politicians are people that they go into politics with no money and they leave with a lot of money. There's politicians from California, I won't name who, came into office with nothing. They have $100 million on a salary. They're getting the money from somewhere, whether it be lobbyists, you could say pharmacy lobbyists, military lobbyists. There's all sorts of people who pay politicians to do stuff. Other countries even, they talked about that a lot the last 2 years, but they didn't even look that far into it, only in a small section. So I think certain politicians are just puppets in a sense, and Hillary was someone who would do what they wanted her to do in some sense, or maybe she built up a lot of power over 20 years in politics where she made a lot of friends. And Bernie and Trump, it seemed like they didn't want to give him a fair shot. I was like, there were 10 things Bernie was talking about. You don't have to agree with me, but I want to. They acted like it didn't existed, or just constantly hated, put the nastiest things. And I was like, that's no way to treat someone. And when Trump won, I noticed that even like George Bush and Barack Obama, and they're all like mad at him. Where I was like, and then Mitt Romney, John McCain. So then it really kind of made me think what I've always thought. I was like, even if McCain would have beat Obama, he would have got the job done. I think there is, in a sense, conspiracy, maybe not the right word, but a group of people that are, they have a certain war agenda, military agenda, a certain agenda for, bigger than the United States, and they have a lot of money and a lot of influence. And I think even Trump is influenced with that. He's mentioned it actually in an interview. Talking about Iran, he said the words military-industrial complex before then was a conspiracy theory, and he said, listen, he's like, there's some guys in Washington that they don't want me to pull out of. I tried to pull out of Syria. He said they want war constantly. Like, he actually admitted that, and that was pretty, I thought, revolutionary.
Well, that's a tough thing, because I believe that our world is so tightly knitted economically that does prevent us from going to a lot of wars. It prevents a lot of other countries from around the world going to wars against each other, because there's so much more freedom to move. There's so much more freedom to travel. Start a business on the internet, I'm sure China and even India, if this was just 200 years ago and they had nukes, done. Goodbye. If they had nuclear weapons but no other technologies that we have now, there would be just so easy and so much constant war right there, battling for different land rights and possessions of ocean, trade routes, etc. But now that we have this tie with economics, it's great. But then, the pessimistic side is like, hey, well, these companies or these countries that weren't on the World Bank, the Syrias, the Afghanistans, Iraqs, or Libya, these are countries we invaded and went into. I mean, it's very unfortunate what's going on in those countries. And for those people, I mean, a lot of those countries have lost an entire generation of, their youth and of their people, because a lot of them are still fighting. They're dying every single day. But I that's where the U.S. has come in a responsibility side. And, like, that our military has taken up the possession for, not the possession, but, hey, Japan, you don't need a military. We got you there. South Korea, we got you there. I mean, the amount of bases we have, if you want to say, subdues or keeps countries in check, like China and Russia. Absolutely. If you believe they're bad or good or whatever side you're on. So, that's like the Sam Harris argument. Is there a good way? And it's a tough moral question to ask. Are we the more responsible country with the military and with the economic thing, which comes down to the question we had about the companies as well, corporations. Are we the ones to deem morally that this is the right way to live, be as a human being in this time?
There's a general he was under Bush, I forget his name, but he made a video and he said that they had an agenda of the countries, most of which you named, that they were going to go in step by step, and he kind of was a whistleblower or something on it. And they've gone for those countries. So I'm the type of person which left-wing anti-war people tend to agree with me sometimes and disagree, because I'm thinking like you're thinking, we need a strong military. I'm not someone who's like, defund it. I'm glad we're all over the place, but I think what we've been doing in Libya, in Syria, in other countries is actually hurting the United States economically, hurting us safety-wise, hurting those countries. It's a lose-lose-lose, because I feel like with the research I've done that we're not doing it because of America or because of safety or because of those people. They always use a kid picture. Like, we got to go to Syria. This kid, half those pictures have been debunked. The father of the Syrian kid said they took a picture of my kid. They like propped him up. There's a video of them propping him up, and then they used it for the opposite of what the father wanted. So I think what they're doing is there's people in other countries that we're acting on behalf of them. And also, if you're a pharmacy company, you know, there's reports of them giving pills that had like HIV positive to other countries because they didn't want to lose the money, but they didn't want to give it here.
That's,
I don't want to say the company. Yeah, if you search, you know, I know the company, but I'm not 100% sure, so I don't want to risk myself legally by saying it. But if you search, you know, HIV pills, South America, like pharmacy, it'll pop up, and it's not even like Alex Jones, it's CBS and mainstream sources. So where the pharmacy industries become corrupt because they want to sell no matter what, and you see a lot of opioid deaths and overprescription. Same, there's a whole industry that's $1 billion industry around weapons. So even Trump, as much as I've, you know, gone out on a limb to say he's done a lot of things that are positive, he continuously sells weapons to Saudi Arabia. And the hijackers from 9/11, they weren't from Iraq or Iran. Most of them were from Saudi Arabia. I'm not saying to cut ties with them. I get they got a lot of money, oil. I got friends from Saudi Arabia. But you're telling me we went to these countries, attacked Gaddafi, who had nothing to do with 9/11 at all, and then give weapons. You know, even Trump will sell billions of dollars of weapons to the country where most of the hijackers were from. So there's something going on where it seems like, kind of like with Google or YouTube, I think they should morally police their site, but they've lost almost total control, and it seems like everyone's becoming a little insane where they're not the moral judge, and they favor awful people sometimes, and they constantly attack what I consider the best and most honest people.
Well, don't you think everybody has the best intentions possible? Or, again, because that's where we go to the conspiracy point, that even though that the goal of these companies is inclusion, they have good intentions behind all these things. They have good intentions with this military industrial complex and to tie the world together economically. So, you know, we have certain reasons and certain ways to not go and kill somebody on the other side of the mountain, which happened, you know, it's like you didn't know about 1,500 years ago that a bunch of blonde-haired men with horns on their head were going to come over on a boat today and just rape and pillage your entire village. You know, we don't have that anymore. We have the security, you know, financially, with economics, and this U.S. military now. Do you think there are people with a negative idea in doing that? 'Cause I don't think it's going to be all the way negative.
Yeah.
I think that's just the way people think that's a positive push towards their design of the world. It's crazy that people have the ability to do that, though.
I think it's a mix, because I think a lot of the people, especially on the ground level, they have no idea what they're doing. You know, if they're doing things that I consider are nefarious, I don't think they mean to. I think they have good intentions, and I think some people at high levels have good intentions, or they've lost sense of reality where they believe what they're doing is right. But I've met people at, you know, billion-dollar companies that have, you know, say pushed a product or done stuff that has hurt a lot of people. They knew that. So I think there are a lot of people, or at least some, who do it for their interest. You know, I think there's a lot of people that are like, listen, I know that this product is going to hurt millions of people, but it's going to make me billions of dollars. So I think it is a mix, but I think people underestimate the amount of people who are either selfish or so far gone that they're not thinking about everyone, and they're thinking about themselves. But the sad irony of it is usually those type of people crush themselves in the end as well, or their company. So,
well, I mean, people are people. And that's what, you know, like I said, even though I know these people, maybe they have the design to do something positive, you can't trust a person. We've created this whole game of society and civilization, and we're all trying to compete against each other, with each other, to get, you know, to the top, so to say. So, yeah, like you said, sometimes corporations will go out and, you know, they don't tell people that this water's got cancer in it, and now people are drinking this thing, and, well, hey, we know we only have to pay a certain penalty in order, and we'll give these people what's it called, payment, settlement, and it's all good. No worries. We know we can get away with doing that, and we knew that stuff was in there. But again, is that a nefarious thing? Is that just the way the game has been designed? Because the same thing can go for vaccines. Vaccines have gotten us as a civilization, or certain medicines have gotten us as a society. Like polio is like my favorite and best example. Like it's literally extinct as a disease. It doesn't exist. It does in Pakistan, Afghanistan now, because the Taliban prevents people in certain areas that they have control over in pockets for people to go inside. And I know that's been a huge thing that's happened recently. And it's like, is that due to those companies doing that? Is it because, these vaccines or bacterias or whatever germ or disease that we're trying to prevent from our society has mutated? Maybe it's just been able to battle back because, again, we're battling all these different little microbes and diseases like that.
Yeah. No, it's a balance, and I think in the United States especially and other places, we have checks and balances for a reason. Like we have free speech, so you're allowed to have any opinion about vaccines. Now Facebook is and any anti-vax content they're deranking or getting rid of, so they're taking away essentially free speech on that area in that platform. And it's a combo of both, where certain polio vaccine and others are excellent. They've eradicated it. It's awesome. But these companies have been proven time and time again that they will go the distance to make more money. So my thought now, which is almost at the point where if I say it, I could risk losing my whole channel. But I'm not an anti-vaxxer, but I do think they're pumping way too many in kids at once. I do think it's causing illnesses, and I did a research paper or video yesterday where I quoted CBS and the CDC.gov. So it's a government website. There was 2 cases, one in Florida, I think one in California, where everybody who caught measles vaccine and mumps vaccine at the school, they were all actually vaccinated within the last 15 months. So in those certain cases, no unvaccinated kids. And then I post this and people say, are you an anti-vaxxer? This is CBS and the CDC. This is the government website telling you, the Center of Disease Control. That's a little strange to me. So there's more mutations of it. Maybe they don't have the right one, but we do have to question these pharmacy companies, especially real quick. I want to say Bayer. They bought out Monsanto recently, and Bayer got their start. Well, I think it was like selling heroin. You got to look it up, but I get it. 1900s were wild. You got to do what you got to do. But they also worked with Nazi Germany to kill people, and that's documented on Wikipedia and I think CBS as well and other sites.
Was anybody at that company still working with Nazi Germany or
sure.
affiliated or connected to?
Not Nazi Germany, but I'll drop another gem that
because it's a German company for people who don't know.
Yeah. And Volkswagen and others come from. But when we defeated Nazi Germany, we had something called Operation Paperclip. This is on Wikipedia as well. 1,600 of the top German scientists, leaders, political leaders, 1,600 all came to the United States, not for a refugee, but they they worked in the United States government. And people, the counter argument is, well, they were talented, they wanted to take them, or, are they still connected? But imagine if we defeated ISIS and we took 1,600 members of ISIS, brought them to the United States, and they had government positions. The space program was founded by a Nazi. I mean, the amount of Nazi influence, I'm not saying they're all still Nazis, but they call random Trump supporters a Nazi, but they don't look at literal Nazis who, in my personal perspective, have possibly taken over the food and medicine industry. And I'm not saying they're all bad now, but if I'm not allowed to question that, and if nobody thinks about that stuff, that's how they kind of get away with what they got away with a lot of products and stuff they've sold us. It's because no one really thought about it. But now that they do, there's lawsuits and there's, blowback. But for some people, 40 years too late.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's how the civilization society game's played. Hey, do you want Russia to get these guys? And do you want Russia, because we're in this whole nuclear arms race that happened in the Cold War right after World War II. So, yeah, do you put these guys on trial? Do you take them in? I mean, morally.
Yeah.
Justified. I mean, you should be going and put these guys on trial for doing the things they did. I mean, I know you mentioned one of the ones that ran the space program. I think one of them was like in charge of a factory in Berlin where they hung Jews.
Yeah.
During then, and then he was running and working for the space program.
Yeah, I just have a question. I'm like, did you guys check to make sure they stopped doing this? Because I didn't read that part of the thing where I'm not saying they all still are, and you can take talented people. I get it. In a war, you fight for your country. You have to do that. But I find that a lot of the historical narrative doesn't add up. And if you question it, they call you a conspiracy theorist or crazy. And now they're starting to delete history and basically rewrite a lot of history. So
where have you seen that?
deleting history? Or,
Yeah, because I'm a big history guy. I studied history in college.
They're banning a lot of books from Amazon. They're starting to delete, like I said, historical context videos from YouTube. Historians who have a more nuanced perspective, I'd say, because even in the worst things throughout history, it's not like, oh, they're great or when they were terrible, but you have to, if you really study history, like, you go step by step and like this happened, then they rose, like, it's more simple than bad. Don't talk, like, ban it. So, those type of things, I feel like they're, even today, who's going to write the history book of today? Is Donald Trump the greatest president ever, or is he a literal Nazi? Like, depending who gains control of our history, we're either going to learn that this guy was like, the greatest president since Lincoln, or that he was the worst guy since Hitler. So it's like, I think about those things. I'm like, who's going to write the story of today?
Yeah, totally. I look at history with a grain of salt too. What was happening, what was going on, and how did people think? Are you a Dan Carlin hardcore history fan?
I'm not familiar.
Oh, man.
People have told me to check him out, though.
He's one of the, just in terms of like storytelling, like he's a treasure. Like, just like one of the greatest storytellers of our time, especially how he can take you back in time to history with the amount of research and just production he does, with reading these audio back to you in like 6-hour shows. But you're never like, oh man, 6 hours? You're like, damn, only 6 hours? Like, he might not put one out for another 6 months or a year. That's how much he puts into this.
Wow.
And it's the #1 podcast ever.
Wow.
His
Dan
show.
Carlin.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to check it out.
So Joe Rogan puts them out. He gets those 10 million here and there. But when Dan Carlin puts one out, he'll have like 1 million downloads in less than a day without even publicizing it. You just know subscription-wise, or you got your buddy saying, yo, Dan Carlin's out.
Well, I need to get to that level where I just disappear for 6 months and drop one thing and then disappear again. That's goals.
Research him. Yeah.
All right.
Figure out what he's doing. But again, like you said, he really does an amazing job, which is the hardest thing I think storytellers, the news, the media has a really hard time doing, about being fair and balanced. Like, he does one called the Celtic Holocaust, and it's all about Julius Caesar and what Julius Caesar was trying to do while he's trying to take over Rome, while out in the middle of Gaul, battling, taking on all this land, killing all these people, setting up all these different things, while reading his journal. So he's in the mind of Julius Caesar and trying to break down to you what he was doing, what he had to be thinking. And Julius Caesar was that smart of an individual to know that you were going to be reading his journal and what he wanted to write down and what he wanted you to think, and to see in that just really, really, really deep perspectives on individuals. Because again, those were people. Those were human beings just like you and me back then, but they thought a certain way, but they still did people things.
And that's great to hear that, like, hear it from his word, and then you hear maybe the anti-Julius Caesar, and then you can start
He'll
to
give you both
play
sides
out, and you're like,
yeah.
okay, because that's how a lot of things are. And I know for myself, they've never written articles about me, only negative articles. They actually called me a white nationalist and a bunch of things for a Irish joke I made on St. Paddy's Day. I'm not even Irish. I'm part Puerto Rican, so I don't know. I cling on to that card. I'm like, yo, help! I'm not white. No, but I'm not, and I'm not actually even a nationalist. Like, I'm not. That's not my thing. But they wrote that about me. So my point is, if something happens to me, or in general, like, by the time I'm done with my career, is that what people are going to read? Because that's, like, that written was so terrible. I've done, so many songs and, like, collaborations, and I have so many videos. I actually have a video, how to stop nationalism, and then people on the right wing got mad at me. Why do you want to stop nationalism? I'm just saying how to, if they wanted to stop it. You know what I'm saying? It was like more of like an outside looking in. Like,
good Google search video, though. That's a good job for YouTube.
So I sent it to him, like, guys, you call me a white nationalist. I'm not even really fully white. And also, I'm not a nationalist. And I've made videos about how I'm not a nationalist and how you would stop nationalism if you would. And these are the type of people on the left wing in journalism that not only smear me, Joe Rogan, anybody who doesn't fit along their narrative, but they actually grow Trump's support. They've made the right wing wildly popular in Europe. The right wing is making lots of gains, and so is the further left. So you have the right wing growing enormously, and people are leaving that mainstream.
It's becoming
to go
more
further.
polarized. Yeah.
Yeah, which is
whereas either you're on this side or this side, and that's just, again, not a healthy balance for society, for a civilization. I mean, just to have conversation. I mean, that's what I love about the podcast space, and what I get to do is I literally have different conversations with different people, men, women, whatever creed or code you come from, and I don't see the world. I only get to see the world one kind of way.
Mm.
And I want to have conversations with people to see, and then also try and make a video to take on whatever their unique experience is. You know, I was in Colombia. I got us access to a cocaine production house. Like, hey, who is this man who's making cocaine? He's literally getting paid by the government not to grow these coca leaves. But if he grows corn, he's still not going to make as much money as he is if he's going to produce these leaves. He doesn't even make the cocaine and make the money that some dealer is going to make that gets in the United States. But hey, listen, I'm trying to make money for my kids. I'm trying to make money so I can live and survive. This guy in the middle of nowhere in the jungle, Colombia. It's just fascinating that we can't really form opinions unless we actually walk the walk.
That's it. And talking to people and letting them tell their story, like what you're doing. Someone like a Joe Rogan, he brings people on. Sometimes he'll question certain people, but he gets them to tell their story. I was watching an old CNN video of Louis Farrakhan. They interviewed him after the Million Man March in 93 or 94. And I thought it was a great interview. They showed him playing violin, who he was, who he said he was, and then CNN said who they thought he was. Very fair, very fair. Nowadays, you couldn't do that to him or anyone else, where I get it, you don't have to like him, but do you want to tell the story, or at least have them, where the news, whether it's right or left wing, they bring people on and they're like, this is who you are, you're awful, you're this person. And then if you say one thing, they're like interrupt you and be like, what about Charlottesville? And you're like, what are we're talking about basketball. Like, you know, it's okay to have those conversations, but they're looking to frame you in a certain light. And anybody who breaks them out of that light, I like to do that to people on the left wing that I disagree with a lot. I like to find things I like that they do and be like, hey, Ted Cruz and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez are working on a bill now to stop lobbyists from, or to stop politicians from becoming lobbyists after they're a politician. Mm-hmm. I love that. That's somewhat Ted Cruz, right wing.
I've only heard that once talked about outside of this right now.
Because no one wants to do. No, I love that stuff. Because people on the right, they hate Cortez, but I tell them all the time, I'm like, you're making her famous like the left wing made Trump famous, and your hate never looks good. Like, get that hate out of your heart. Where all you do is talk about her. I talk about something, and they talk about her. She's living rent free in your head, and focus on the good. I don't agree with a lot, but her and Ted Cruz stopping people from becoming lobbyists, like, I want more of that.
Yeah, it's people forget that these people are reflections and the representatives of who you are, and they only get such a limited time to go in there and do stuff for you, especially on Congress. Congress is what, 2 years, Senate 6, I think. So whenever they can get out there, they can yell at somebody, they can make change, and really lay ground on people. Let them do it. Let them get out there and do that. And again, that's where the whole sports team and the tribalism comes in. This is more like a sporting event for people, and it's fallen into that arena with the news and media and everything we're talking about with different social media platforms. They don't want everything seen, or they want it seen in that light. Dangerous.
Yeah, well, the only way to do it is break out of that. I think that's the beautiful part of it, is if everyone's going one direction, if you stray from that, it seems to take on a life of its own. And that's helped me a lot, where I've gotten a lot of messages from people that are like, I don't agree with you, but I like what you're saying, or I like what you're doing. And people that never would have felt that way be like, oh, I never thought that way. So when everyone's doing all that stuff, and even YouTube having a collapse, it's only going to hurt them at a certain point. So I think the world takes care of itself in that way.
Where do you see the future of news and media going?
It's tough to say, because everything's in the balance. These few companies, Facebook, Twitter, Google, Instagram, they have more power than the television, and the old media knows that. That's why they're hounding them to put them at the top, and everyone's bad except for us. They're dangerous, not us, though, even though they've done awful mistakes and costly stuff, more than the people they hate on. But are they going to win out and close everyone out? Is something else going to come up? I'm not really sure, but I think the internet and video content, like 2 years ago, Instagram only had pictures. Now videos dominate Instagram, videos dominate Facebook. There used to not be videos. So that type of stuff, short content, I think journalism is dying, like text-based media. All these companies, BuzzFeed, Vox, they're on strike. They're not getting paid enough. It's because they suck. No, but they have the video stuff, but no one's reading that stuff anymore. So you got to evolve, and I'm very underwhelmed with the personalities, like someone like myself or you, or thousands of people doing it. they have all the money in the world. New York Times, Washington Post, Fox. I'm underwhelmed with the people that they're picking to represent. You know, you got a budget. Go get somebody that people actually like and that's reasonable. And then like Joe Rogan is probably more powerful than Huffington Post, Vox, cable networks by himself with like probably 2 or 3 workers. Why is that? It's because he did it right and provided something that no one else had. So I think that type of stuff's going to take over, but there is a huge blowback. But text-based, falling. Short-based, good. And long-based, I guess, too. It's weird. As short gets more important, so does long, where it's like either people are like, I only have 5 minutes or 5 hours, if you're... So combo of all that stuff, maybe.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, it's crazy what happened with Joe Rogan, just how much freedom he has. I never thought about that. He only has a team of 2 or 3 people, really.
Maybe he has more. I don't know about it.
No, I think there's a page called Powerful Joe Rogan. I think he does a lot of the production in terms of like reaching out different guests, setting up those interviews and shows. And then you got Jamie in studio, and yeah, that's about it, man.
And he gets a lot of pressure now, I know, because once you reach a certain point and you're that influential, I'm sure he's got a lot of people, coming at him from different ways. And to some people, I know, certain people don't like Joe or this or that. The cool part about it is just do your own thing. Like, there's no reason to hate that hard or spend that much energy. Do your own thing, make it better,
Yeah, he's the first indie, podcast creator, really. I mean, he was doing this in his garage with Brian Redban, and, it's this now. It's incredible what he's gone from in terms of the podcast side, at least. It's really amazing. But that's one of the bigger things, too, is influence. And how much, what would be the term, how much importance do these influencers have in order to say things? A lot of people get on Michael Jordan and say, hey, Republicans buy shoes too. I can't criticize or chastise people on their politics. These are my customers.
Is that what Jordan said or no?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Smart.
So, I mean, then you got a guy like LeBron James, who's a lot more vocal and active, about social issues and social justice, not just in his own community, but inside the country himself. And I know a big thing too is like, athletes with the influence they have of protesting. And I think that's all good. I think people should have the ability to do that. Like you said, if someone doesn't want to go to the White House, they don't have to go to the White House. I think it's a great honor, and you have the ability and the privilege to get that opportunity, whoever's your president or not. But again, same thing goes like Colin Kaepernick. Let the guy kneel. This is the thing. Do you know where the national anthem even comes from? When it was written, who it was wrote by, and what is he doing that's getting you such grief? But where do you think influencers have a position to place themselves on moral issues or social issues like that?
I think every influencer, rappers, anybody, you have to understand that you do have influence, and just, with great power comes responsibility. So at least think about it. But I guess what I don't like is, I don't mind LeBron or Kaepernick doing what they want to do, but I don't like when people pressure others to do something politically. Like if there's a rapper, in my personal perspective, saying like, take lean and go kill yourself or kill people, it's hard to be like, yo dude, you got a huge influence. Like maybe, like I know kids that are listening to that and they think that's cool, so could you maybe like say something that makes a little more sense? I like that a little better. But when someone says you have to feel this way politically, I think that's the wrong play. I know Max Kellerman from ESPN went hard at Tiger Woods, and what he said was, I respect the office. I don't care who's president. You got to respect the office. Max Kellerman's like foaming at the mouth. He's got like a sore in his mouth. Like, you got to, like, it's like, dude, shut up, man. Like, Tiger doesn't agree with you. And I think that's where conservatives used to really annoy me by being so close-minded and nasty. And some of them still absolutely are. But I feel like liberals, maybe because they have more media power, this last couple of years have surpassed where you can't even disagree or they freak out at you. Whereas he didn't even say he liked Trump, which he's allowed to. If Tiger does, he knows him. Same with Kanye. Kanye's like, I know him. That's my friend. So they're allowed to like them, or they're allowed to vote for them. And liberals have, and especially media, what they do is say, you have influence. You have to support this politically, and some people just don't, and they're all like afraid. I know people who work with rappers and in big media who say like, I love your videos, I'm afraid to say how I feel. I've always been Democrat, but I'm not that mad at Trump. I see the things that I don't like, and I see the things that I do like. You almost can't even have that thing. So I think that you absolutely have a responsibility, but a lot of these celebrities say, agree with me politically, and I find a lot of their activism is counterproductive. I'll say with Kaepernick real quick, I don't mind that he kneeled. I think you have the right to do that, and people can like it or dislike it. But when the spotlight was on him and the things he was saying, police brutality, that's fine. That's great. Talk about it. But they spend 99% of their effort talking about that. If you look at statistics of how many police kill Black Americans, very, very low, way under 1%. If you look at, the black on black murder rate, it's extremely high. So are you trying to solve every issue? And there's a lot of data that conservatives point out to a lot where they say the father in the home, and this is happening in all communities, but in the Black community is way lower than it's ever been, like at 30% or something. That, and of course you grow up without a father. Now you have, no guidance. So I find that there's no self-accountability on that side. You could talk about police brutality, police corruption, that's fine. But if you try to get them to be self-accountable, and that's what I think changed my life, whether you listen to Gary Vee or Tony Robbins, self-accountability, that's how you get success. But they don't want to hear it. They just say police brutality, police brutality. But that's a small piece of the puzzle. And you look at health, opioids, drugs, crime, the culture that I've always loved, hip-hop culture, which is telling kids to take pills and guiding them in the wrong direction. No word about that. So I find that it's like everyone's kind of sheep, like, this is what I care about, but it's the amount of people that it's affecting is so low that I feel like you have to agree with this, and I'm like, I think that's a little overblown.
Well, there you go. It's, walking the walk and not talking the talk, because that's a big thing conservatives say, that the formation or the building blocks of the home, having a mother and father, or having both of those individuals there and a family unit there, is what we based, I would only say even like post 1940s of our culture and society off of. And now that we have, I think there's a lot of things still happening from the sexual revolution of the 1960s, from women getting more accessibility to the workplace. Like, men and women have never spent this much time together.
I know it's awful. No, I'm just kidding. I'm joking.
No, I'm saying, like, ever. Like, and the weird thing is, like, biologically, we're here to consume resources and multiply. That's what, our cells and our DNA is written down to do. We've created this whole society and civilization around these things and all these new rules. And the people who spend the most time together can't sometimes communicate with each other. There's all these different things that are happening. We're talking about, like, even like sexual harassment in the office and workplace. Men and women who, like, can't go out there and, connect, have relationships, but they're spending all this time together. And the people we're trying to bring up and care about, it's not there. And it's not for that. I don't know where the future goes with that, because I think, like I said, we're in these weird growing pains of society where we have the accessibility to go and do all these things, but we don't know where it's going to go. We don't know what the right answer is.
I think as long as people can have discussion about it, it's a balance. But that's my big, I guess, beef with nowadays. They say, if you don't agree with this, you're a bigot, you're a horrible person. But
is it just discussion? I mean,
we need a discussion.
But I mean, it's walking the walk, though. I mean, how do we get people to get out and do things? You and I can sit here and talk till the cows come home. Yeah. You can make your videos. I'm going to make these podcasts. I'm going to make these videos. But, that's the thing that I'm probably down on myself with. Like, I mean, yeah, I want to be the change in the world and do the thing. So I'm going to go out and live life the way I want to live it and try, advocate that. We're never going to see, and this is the disheartening thing that people probably feel and see, that they don't get to see that change. They don't get to know the influence they get to have on the world around them.
Well, I think that's the most important, is being the change and doing it, because no matter man, woman, this, that, where you start from, what you did in the past, you have to make a certain decision to take something to a certain level, and it's very possible here. So that's even with like activism or discussion, gender, all that stuff. There's a place for it, but I think the negatives have been very overblown, and also certain narratives are maybe like 1% of the full equation, but they're 99% of the talking. And then if you say something else, they yell at you, and based on, race or gender, they'll say you can't have this discussion, you can't have this opinion. If you're, say, a black conservative and you talk about the family stuff, they're very, very vicious to, my black conservative friends. Like, you're calling them all sorts of names and saying you're a sellout. And a lot of them are very intelligent and just preaching self-accountability, the same things that Eckhart Tolle or, Gary Vee. But for some reason, it works when you're talking about business and entrepreneurship. But if you talk about politics and social life, people freak out. So I think it's being the change is important. Discussing things is important. And that's my number one. And I find that seems to rub a lot of people the wrong way. Is like self-accountability. People spend too much time hating and judging others and not enough time making things happen.
Well, one more thing I wanted to get into before we got a big Warriors game coming, because we got to have basketball still too, is the Nexus report that was released when it was tracking this is back into the media topic we were going on before, the amount of research on keywords and things that are researched and that paper and the ideas and topics that papers were written about. And a lot of these companies these media companies, by libertarians, and they've been able to target certain words and certain phrases, from like white privilege to police brutality, and the amount of articles that were written about these things. It also goes back into what you're saying, is the amount of negative that's hyped on people, and the way they get funneled and get to see in front of them has been way more negative. I think it's up from like 1,000 to 15,000 papers that have been written about these topics and these topics, and these are the things that are getting funneled from these companies. And it's, progressive and left-leaning ideas of social, more than right-leaning, about social justice and changing the world, but it's advocating it in a negative way. So again, the manipulation of seeing of what's getting put out there has been seen. Have you seen those videos?
No,
and,
so
those
you're
reports?
saying that
Tim Pool did a great video on that, about from the research.
that libertarians are doing it?
That libertarian-minded people
Are reading it or doing it?
that are creating or running these different media hubs in order to write these articles. And
To piss people off?
no, but to that's going to advocate a more negative-minded thing, that people are going to be clicking on these videos, or clicking on these videos, not videos, but articles.
Mm-hmm.
And so those articles are going to be seen more, but they're going to be putting things in negative lights.
Oh,
And not completely negative lights, but like just negative ideas and negative
yeah.
clouds over them. So you think the world is in a much more negative and pessimistic place, because that's the thing people are going to click on and see. I think the biggest thing is like Florida and global warming, and that the world is going to be Florida is going to be underwater. I've been told this. I know climate change exists. I know the world is continuously getting hotter and the temperatures are rising. But being advocated about what I've been told about, since I was a kid, I remember Florida is supposed to be underwater by 2010.
Oh yeah, they've been saying. There's actually a great article from AP. It was from 1980, and they predicted 30 years ago that it's going to happen. That's a big subject to dive into. I've always been an environmentalist, but learning about a lot of the data and research, it's a little shakier than people think. I'll say about the libertarian thing you're talking about, definitely on the right wing as well. They're very negative. Like
They're the biggest fearmongers out there sometimes about.
When they write about me, they always frame it in this crazy, insane like can you just write about my song? They try to like pin me against other rappers for the clicks. And I told them like I don't even want to be written about by Fox. Fox News actually kind of smeared me. They said
Really?
They said I was a self-proclaimed hip-hop artist and news analyst. Like I'm not a self-proclaimed basketball. Like I'm just saying it. Like I don't actually play. And then they said Roseanne. I had an interview with her that she was lying about something that thing she was totally right about. They were like smearing us, and I was like, that's weird. But no, the fear thing seems to. I don't know if it gets a lot of clicks or they're doing it, but I find. I don't do articles. If I did, they'd get more clicks than them probably, but my videos do fine and they're not negative. So I'm like, do people really want that? Or is it just like, I get it's like the world star hip hop approach. I don't think that's the only thing that works though, but I do agree that most right wing media is absolutely hysterical, always hating on people and making the people that they hate more famous, always hyping things up way worse than they are. And same with the left now. They're doing that a lot with Trump and stuff. So you have two sides that are just always angry and mad. Yeah. And I think it's I know that they're doing it, but I disagree that it's the most profitable thing. I think being calm, like Bob Ross. I have a song called Bob Ross.
It's a good song.
Chill out. It's people like it and it lasts a lot longer. Like people still watch Bob Ross.
Well, that's the thing. Like you said, they know that to be profitable for them now, I think it was like libertarian-minded people are running these places, and so that when these kind of media or stories are written, they're pushing it towards make these words and phrases in those articles, and to make it seem that things are much worse than they actually are.
Well,
But
with the picture and the headline, that's what people are going to see to click on it.
Yeah.
So some people's strategy is craziest picture, craziest, most insane headline. And I get it with the headline, but I don't like where you could tell that certain outlets just will do it for anything, where I think you should have a little bit of a moral compass there and not just like do some crazy sick shit just for 1,000 clicks.
Yeah, I'll put on Sean Hannity on the Fox News app in there just for entertainment. Just like, why does this guy think the world is blowing up? And then when you see family members who watch that and just like, they'll call you like, is the caravan coming here? I'm like, no, there is no caravan on the doorstep of Los Angeles. Like, stop watching TV.
It's on San Diego. No,
if you want to come here and see it for yourself, like, there's no one coming here. We have a lot bigger problems with homelessness and trying to figure out like what is the homeless problem? Is it a lack of housing? Is it a lot of people say it's a drug problem, but where I think it is we just haven't built the infrastructure in our societies for people to fit in. Like, society, it's this playground. We're trying to find ways and jobs for things for people to do so we can run this machine that we're running. But, there's a lot of people that don't fit in. And I don't know if we're ever going to have a place for them or if we're going to be able to find a place for them. It's tough.
I'll say this too, and this is unpopular on both sides to people who watch television, but you watch CNN or Fox News, the commercials are all pharmacy pills, almost all of them, or lawyers or awful food. The commercials disgust me just to watch the network and see those commercials. And how do you sell pills? If you want people are depression pills, you need people to be depressed. If it's some crazy thing, you need people to be sick. So I don't know if purposely or by design, but these networks are making people like sick and insane and depressed. And then they sell them sick, insane depression pills. So I don't think it's a mistake. And I encourage people, whether they're left wing or right wing, to try to find better media, because even if I agree with some of them politically sometimes, or I don't like their approach at all. And I do think that they're purposely pissing people off and making them sick. I feel sick when I watch these commercials. And if I ate the foods and did what they told me to do, I'd be sick constantly. The reason I'm not sick is because I don't watch that.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, how do independent content creators be able to go out and go with these different media platforms, bringing a full circle on you right here, where our content's getting repressed in terms of how it can be seen? These media companies have swooped in to these original content creating platforms, and now, those guys are getting fueled and funded by fast food companies, big pharma, and they got a lot of money getting thrown at them in order to create the content we can create. How does one content creator not be, feel delegitimized to try and get into the space?
I would say sidestep. Like I used to want to be signed to a label and, do like rap stuff. And I do it now. But I'm like, I don't actually want to work with those people. I don't want to be on tour with them. I thought I did. So with TV, people are like, you'd be great on Fox, or you could do that. I was like, I mean, if they offer the right thing and let me actually do what I wanted to do, I'd do it with MSNBC but they'd have to let me do the right thing. However, if they don't, I don't care. Like, people think I care. I'm like, I don't care. Because you can get, like, I looked at a lot of these hosts, besides maybe the top three, I have a bigger following and a bigger reach than some of their shows do some nights. So I'm like, you do you, I'll do me, and yours is going downwards, mine's going upwards. So I would say don't seek to be on their thing. Just like they wish they had the appeal that a Rogan or someone had. They wish they could reach that many people. So they're not. They just dress up in suits and look nice. But we could buy a suit.
Yeah, if you think about that.
I have a suit. I'm lying. Now people are like, you don't own a suit.
I have one. I
have three.
You're better
I'll give
than
you
me.
one. Equality.
No.
We each have two.
I wouldn't fit in your suit, man. You're way too tall for me. Because Rogan's episode get 10 million. Like, we're talking Dan Carlin, like 25 million. Like,
yeah.
TV shows struggle these days to hit like 3 or 4 million, unless it's like a sporting event. Super Bowl's getting like 55 or 75
and
million.
How many of those are sitting in cafes and airports? It's like I think probably half of them might be just like airports and diners. Like, you know, they're always on. They always got Fox or CNN on. I don't think their numbers are even that big, because I look at some of these people and no one likes. I'm like, you're on television. I don't want to pick on my man, but Ebro from Ebro in the Morning, he does the hip hop stuff. He's got 250,000 followers. He's on syndicated radio every day, and he's got these bad political takes. He's got 5 favorites, 6 favorites. I'm like, you got all these sponsors, you know, all this free promotion, and no one cares. It's pretty wild.
It's nuts. But we got a basketball game too. Who do you got, man?
Warriors by 300 guaranteed. No, I want the Warriors to win, but it's gonna be tough, man. I was just thinking about it earlier. The starting lineup of the Raptors, all of them could shoot threes. You got Danny Green, lights out. Kawhi Leonard, lights out. Siakam's been killing it. Gasol can hit threes nonstop, and then they have like Van Vliet. That's tough. They're almost better shooters than the whole team of the, obviously not Curry or a Thompson, but with Durant hurt, I don't know. But
yeah, I can honestly say, and this is me admitting when I'm wrong, because I said the Raptors weren't going to win a game, but I didn't realize how depleted the Warriors were and how well the Raptors matched up with the Warriors. And after that first game, I gave it 2 games. So I was like, okay, it's going to be 4-1 after this. But they just really match up with them well, like you said. You know, it's a very, very long team. That starting lineup, I think Kyle Lowry's 6'1". I mean, might be 6'3". I'm wrong, but I mean, that's a big, big lineup they got there. 7-foot Gasol. Siakam, I'm sure, has got a 7'5" wingspan for a 6'9", 6'10" guy. Kawhi is one of the best defenders, and
they got Ibaka on the bench.
He's coming off the bench.
Yeah,
but then Danny Green's a great shooter and defender. So, you know, they end up matching up so well with that against Golden State. But I'm going to shout out Squeaky because he gave a great theory. Is that if this does go to Game 6, Durant will come back, because this gives him the perfect storybook to show his importance to the Golden State Warriors, because he becomes the MVP. Down 3-2, he comes in, helps them win Game 6 and 7, looks like the biggest legend ever, and he walks off in the books. You heard it here. That's what's going to happen if it goes to Game 6.
And they need. I hope Thompson is a little healthy. I know he's playing tonight, but without Thompson and Durant, no teams. A lot of the teams that had 1 or 2 injuries, they lost. You know, almost because of that. So, I don't know if they could just pull it off with just Steph and like Sean Livingston.
They definitely can't. But like it's the floor spacing. I mean, the NBA game has expanded so much. You see the evolution of the 3-point shot, the evolution of even the lob pass, because. You remember basketball from the 90s. There wasn't this many alley-oops.
Way shorter shorts, too, yeah?
The evolution of the short, it is slowly
and
gone
it's
down to the knee.
Yeah.
It is.
As the shorts got longer, the tall people start hitting more threes. That's science.
You heard it here first. It's a good ratio to throw it at. 3-pointers to short length.
Yeah, it's a good graph.
There's your college paper right there. You can go write about that.
It's a poll. 100% accuracy.
Yeah, so, you know, we'll see what happens in the game. I'm hoping the series gets extended. I'm just a fan of good sports. So the more sports we get to see, the more great sports we get to see, because, you know, it's impressive and crazy what these guys can do physically and, you know, mentally. So the last 10 months of the year, these guys have been playing for 10 months. Excuse me, about 9 now. But, like, that's nuts.
Facts. And we'll hoop soon, and I'm calling out every news journalist from Sean Hannity to Rachel Maddow. I could beat you one-on-one, or anybody on the internet. So anybody wants to play me one-on-one, I got you.
I know you've been in talks, I don't know if you want to say, with InfoWars about playing a basketball game.
Oh, I just put it out there. I put a shout out to anyone. I said, you know, anyone who wants to play me. And someone from InfoWars, they elected Owen Schroyer, and they said, don't get your teeth knocked out. Like, he's gonna knock out my teeth. I was like, why is he too rough around the edges? Is he gonna foul me, or is he actually, you know? So if I go to Texas, I guess it's gonna be a one-on-one. I said only if Alex Jones is the announcer. And it's live on InfoWars streamed. If not, I'm too busy.
That would be hilarious.
Yeah, he's got to be the announcer, else I'm busy.
That happens. I'll come out there with you for that. Any chance to go to Texas. But, dude, it was great finally meeting you. Remember, people just lack authenticity, and people really, really go after for people who are just being themselves and being authentic. So, man, it was great to finally sit down and chat with you.
Nice meeting you.
It was a pleasure. And, let people know where they can find you if we haven't said it already, whether that's going to be YouTube, Facebook, and, wherever else you want to plug yourself at.
Instagram at Dream Rare, because that's the easiest to spell. Dream Rare, one word. Facebook An0maly, An0maly. So that was a 0. An0maly. Gotta say it twice. I know my marketing. Yeah. People come up to me and they're like, First of all, they're like, you're that guy. They don't even know my name, and then they spell it wrong. I'm like, damn, big fan. Can't even spell the name. I get it. It's too hard.
Don't beat him up for it. Don't beat him up.
Nah, I don't care. I'm just playing. Sometimes there's this kid from Syria that I promote a lot. Trekka is a comedian. They're like, you're Trekka. I was like, no, I'm not. That's not me. But it's all good. Yeah. Or Twitter at Legendary Energy, or in the streets. But don't follow me, or else I'm a swing.
And let people know where they can see your music as well, man.
Oh yeah, I'm on Spotify or YouTube. I have a song with Trapped. I don't know if you guys know the song Headstrong by Trapped. Headstrong. I got a song with them recently. It's called Come Together. It's about, America coming together. It's pretty fun. And they're on tour. I got to do a few performances with them. I really like that song, though. It's calm. No curses for the kids,
Mm-hmm. Any performances coming up? I'm going to come out there and check out a show.
I think they're doing the Whiskey Go-Go out here, but I think they're on tour on the East Coast. I just don't. I got to do some videos and stuff, so I think that was my last big one, the one in Pennsylvania. But
I'll watch that
do
video,
something.
man. Yeah, whenever you go out, man, I'm there to support, man.
Got
Support
you.
the fellow creators, and yeah, dude, anybody making art, man.
You're there.
You gotta respect it.
Drinking backstage, kombucha if you're trying to, be on it.
I'm about it. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. If you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and click that subscribe button. All that YouTube stuff you got to do. And, plug it away. You got your Reddit, your Facebook, Twitters. Share it out there. It really helps us get exposure because, as you can see and as we talked about, it's really hard to get your videos visibility, even on these platforms for independent content creators. And if you're listening to this, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I really don't need to be talking to the camera anymore because this is the listening part. But subscribe, share, all that good stuff. I really appreciate it. And if you really like this stuff and you're still listening to me talk, we got a Patreon page, and there are plenty of ways to get exclusive access to the people I have on this podcast. With whatever unique thing or niche thing they do, there are plenty of ways that you can not only contribute, but you get unique access. If you want to go bobsled sliding out in Lake Placid, New York, we can make that happen. And we can get you on the ice with Olympic bobsledder Jared Firestone, who's been on the show, and there's a great video to do that. So go check out that Patreon page. And if you've been a guest on the show, let's find a way to give people some exclusive access to what you do and the unique things you do. But we're tuning out. We're the Bus Driver Experience. Have a great day, everybody.
This is the moment for those who